Welcome to our fourth and final webinar for Raising the Bar, our self-development for greater coaching impact webinar series. So this one, I really like this discussion topic today. And with me today, you wouldn't believe I've got my cat and the dog, so they may be making little cameo appearances during this webinar. But we're going to be discussing the reality of coaching pressures. And so we're looking at the modern coaching landscape and how it has, from, I suppose, when I was young and being coached as a rider to now as a coach. There's a lot more pressures, I would say, and common pressures that coaches are facing now as opposed to then. So the industry expectations, and I think particularly with social media, has really widened that lens and made it a lot more, how would you say, society has created more expectations in conjunction with the industry. Social media comparison on that, that can be intense. And if you're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you get people looking for coach recommendations, and then you get all these, like tags in to different comments, and it can actually be exhausting. I find it just becomes lots of noise. So, being able to regulate that is very important. Client demands, sometimes are they realistic and sometimes not. I feel that sometimes clients are feeding off, what they're seeing on social media as well, and then thinking, oh, if they can do it that way, I can do it, or I can do it differently. And even, like I had a rider once that came with 2 weeks out from state championships to jump there off the track thoroughbred for a couple of lessons and expecting high results. That's not really realistic. So that's, we kind of have to be quite real with that. Judgment from peers and spectators, that can be, in person, but even on social media as well. And that, that can be very cluttering for us as coaches. The commercial pressure to look successful, with marketing and things, and, that can really take us away from our authentic self. You can only measure success for yourself, and that's why I always say, really stay true to your heart, be authentic. Adopting society pressures of what success is, that can really stress you out. So how do you meet them? Because they're not really your goals or expectations. These pressures, I think, they're not visible necessarily, but they're real. But they don't define the coaching quality and the coach that we want to be. And I think, so, thinking, even taking a moment, you could even pause this to just think about how pressures impact yourself as a coach. What some of the triggers for you that you've come across in this, external or macro environment. And so how that can affect us, often that causes us to second guess our decisions because of what we should do as opposed to what we feel or our gut instinct tells us to do. Being overly cautious or overly strict because we're trying to please everybody, and then we just become the fun police. And knowing who we're training with our kids, we might just have kids that just want to jump and have fun, and we just want to kind of teach them techniques and, in safety around jumping. Or we might have some riders that are more serious athletes. So depending on where your wheelhouse sits of what you do as a coach in relation to jumping, teaching your audience that you have in front of you. And it is paramount that we have safety front of mind, but it's also about fun too. I think adopting someone else's teaching style, and this is where sometimes you see someone successful, you can always take points to go, I really like how they do that, and things, it's fine. But sometimes people trying to clone themselves to be that person because they think they're not enough as themselves. And I think, be yourself. Your coaching is enough, and back yourself and build on it. Don't abandon it. It's really important, because otherwise, if you're just cloning yourself to someone else, then you're losing your own creativity and connection to your own intuition. And that disconnect, really can affect you as a coach, because no longer you're looking at it from that, that lens, on the ground, that you can really pick up those little things with, riders or the horse, or what the horse is doing. And then I always think, when you're trying to, please meet other expectations, often that can lead, when it leads to burnout, because you're constantly trying to tread the wheel of something that doesn't really resonate with your core truths. So a pressured coach can't coach with presence or instinct. And I think that's a really important sentence, and something, and that leads us into really what does authentic coaching actually mean, and thinking about your own coaching style and how you coach. So authenticity, for me, is really coaching from your own values and trusting your knowledge and lived experience. And I think, and myself, I've been coaching for quite a few decades now, and I'm trusting my knowledge and lived experience, because especially when I'm teaching younger people, that lived experience is gold, and it's unique to me. So that doesn't make us obsolete. And I find, sometimes there's that, underlying, sometimes, they go, oh, you're old, you're disconnected, need young, buzzy people that are connected to the social media, for example. But I think it's just essential we convey our stories in the language that maybe young writers understand. That's fine. But our stories are valuable, are really gold. And so we're showing up consistently, not perfectly. We're teaching from a curiosity, not a comparison. And I think this authenticity matters, particularly for riders, because when we can be authentic and ourselves, and the cat may knock this over again, she's really good, although she's just sitting next to it, so fingers crossed. So riders, they feel safer and more relaxed and more open to learning when they're with someone that is a coach that is authentic and being connected and present and grounded to themselves. And then they know they've got eyes on them and they're picking up stuff, and they can mirror the coach's calmness, and the horse can pick up that energy too. They can connect to the coach as a human, not as an authority figure. And I think for this younger generation, that is really important. And I tend to have two-way dialogue, even with all students, whether young or old. So we're feeding off how they're interpreting the information, how it's landing for them. They get more clarity. We can make better decisions when we're coaching. We can get increased confidence from that, because we're actually aligning with their goals too. And that individual, until you have that conversation and dialogue, and you're talking, you're getting feedback, you can't contextualize it. Sometimes I get coaches with that cookie cutter approach, let's do X, Y, Z, and this is it. And it becomes quite a sterile environment and stagnant. And then I think some coaches, if they're too in that set, we get that ability doubt, and again, as opposed to the growth mindset. So you start getting the ability, I'm not good enough. And I think, especially with coaches that are just building confidence and learning, I'd say we want to change that to I'm learning, improving, and evolving all the time. We want to shift the question from am I as good as other coaches to how can I support this horse and rider right now? They've come to you for a reason. And you might think, oh, this is a good rider or something, or what have I got to offer? But you have something because they've come into your zone. They've picked up the energy. There's something about it with you. They've come and there's something that you can offer. So trust that. Trust the process. Trust yourself. And in this way, we want to let go of those external pressures. We just want to be in our zone and enjoy our coaching for what it is. It's, it's that hour or how many minutes, how many hours of the day. We want to be in the arena and just be in our zone, releasing that industry expectations. We've got our compliance and our safety. We've ticked our boxes, but you don't need to copy anyone else's, coaching whole persona because you think you should be more like that. Choose a style that resonates with you and have fun with it. People can pick it up through your voice, your energy. Coach the type of sessions that you enjoy. Don't push yourself out of your zone to please people. Push it out of your zone if you want to, because you want a challenge or something. But don't do it. There we are. Hang on. There we are. That's funny. Chanel, the cat, she's lovely. She stays incognito. Destructive, but incognito. So we don't want to be, and I think that's when you can get out of your zone. When you get into that, you do things because you're trying to please others, or I think you've got to always make decisions, heart-based decisions, and your gut, like really listen to that intuition or that gut, and that will be a really good guidance. I know I've had scenarios where the other, I'm like, why did I say that? Yes to that, and because my gut was saying no, my intuition was saying no, don't do that, because maybe it was teaching on really hard ground, and then you don't like, or it was really small space, and you've got this big group of riders, and like your power is taken away because you don't have. This is not how you would operate and teach, and so don't. I think it's really keep authentic, keep true to yourself, and keep your power. Because that's where I think it becomes more stressful. Is say, some clubs, and I pick up sometimes some of these riding clubs, they don't understand the safety components of riding or show jumping in particular, and they might have these scenarios that don't work, and you say, actually this doesn't work, and they're like, oh well, it is what it is, and it's like, hang on, and don't put yourself in the situation where, an accident could happen and you think, I knew that was going to happen because X, Y, Z. And it's not performance theatre. So, like, it's not about the show must go on. You've got to then, okay, let's fix this scenario and make it, more safety or more welfare orientated for the horse, you know. So, you know, some of these common thoughts that coaches can go through when they feel that they're being judged, that they should know everything. Sometimes you get ignorance from people on the outside, putting their expectations or projecting onto you, and that, you know, then you've got to really create that little bubble, you know, feeling that you're not experienced enough. Well, then keep the session simple. There's value in the basics, always. And your job, remember, as a coach, we're here to guide and support, not to be flawless, not to be this, you know, I know, whatever, you know, kind of messiah or something. You know, it's focus on the curiosity, not the perfection, and believe that your lived experience, whether as a rider, as an observer, as a course builder, as a, you know, official, whatever involved with the jumping, is valuable. It's gold. And draw on that, you know. It really contextualizes your session, and then it really helps you to develop your own style, really finding your coaching identity, and that can really help to push back on those pressures as well. And you can only answer that one, you know, finding your style. Play with it a bit. Even if you think you know your style, you go, oh, I've got this style. I don't know. Play with some new little things, you know, add in, like, just be curious. Be curious of what you could create. Yeah, I know, more intuitive, more empathetic, like, you know, like, just, it's like, you know, just, I don't know, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. And, you know, looking at, do you like structured progression? Do you like creative exercises? I think sometimes with some clubs, and then, you know, some clubs you might find, you know, they really support and they're aligned with what I do. Great, go with them. But the ones that don't, you know, then bye. And I've kind of got to the point where, yeah, I'm not people pleasing. So authenticity, remember, is leaning into your natural strengths, not performing someone else's style, not performing for other people. This is you. And coaching with that confidence and presence that is you. Presence over perfection. I think the most authentic or effective coaches really observe deeply, and that's, you know, you're noticing things that the horse is doing that the rider in the saddle can't really pick up. You're seeing something, and then you can say, oh, you know, I'm noticing this. Well, what are you doing? What are you feeling? Respond to the moment. You can keep the instructions simple. Sometimes we go in with a session plan and we might only get halfway. And it's better to teach half a session whole than a whole session half. So, you know, lead with that intention, not the ego. I remember rocking up to a group of a country club, like a country pony club, and there was 8 kids. It was about 10 kids in total. 8 of them rocked up in stock saddles for jumping. So it was, I just had to, you know, then I just had to adapt and just trusting my eye and my instinct, because, you know, I'd come from Melbourne at the time, and, you know, I had everyone in jumping saddles and things for jumping, and, like, you know, had all the gear, and then I go out to this and they're there, we're ready to jump, and I went, oh, this will be fun. This is going to be interesting. And so, but then I also adapted it, because I knew, you know, stock saddles can really throw you around when you're jumping. And I thought, well, listen, let's go with it. And And then, I mean, some of them, it led them to, like the Stockman's Challenges and things where they do ride and stock sellers over jumps. And the main thing I was trying to create is that horse rider partnership, have that a positive experience and understanding, picking up something about jumping, about themselves, problem solving if there wasn't in real time. That's part of our role as a coach. And trusting ourselves. So you've earned that your eye for jumping from years of watching horses jumping yourself, maybe having lessons with coaching jumping. So this is about building a self-supported coaching mindset. So some of you have got some good mindset practices, and that's great. And you can build on them always. I'm always trying to build on mine, expand it out, get a deeper awareness. So debrief, after session without judgment. Like, feel that you're not judging, you're just surrendering a bit to it, but just detaching yourself from the emotion of it and just more observing. Recognizing small wins. Even if, the rider so they might have some challenging time. And so you're getting this, they're getting some small wins. And that's great. It might take longer for them to get back to their confidence level. And you're keeping grounded as a coach. Surround yourself with supportive people. I always think surround yourself with your tribe, of people that are supportive, they might be professionals, friends, other riders and groups that, and the cat is doing it again. But you create that kind of nice, safety, supportive environment. And that's where learning grows, and confidence grows as well. So some of the key takeaways, I think, from us today is coaching is not a performance for the industry. It's a relationship with the rider and the horse, and that is contextualized to the individual partnership. Your authenticity is your strongest coaching tool. And I really want that to land with yourselves. Confidence comes from presence, not perfection. And I think when you trust yourselves, when you trust yourself, riders trust you, and the horses can relax under your guidance because it's a supportive, trusting environment. And that is key, remembering people are coming into your energy because there's something that you have to offer them. Sometimes when they might see it, or you share something, you're observing something about their riding or their coaching, and you share that, and they might not take it on. So it's very windy. Taking my eyes water. And they might not take it on, but it'll still sit with them. You've planted the seed. They'll go away. They might, need to process it, but you've shared it. And whether they come back again or not, oh well, that's just up to them. It's still a piece. Sometimes I have people, they're like, oh great, and that's their style. They like to be consistently having lessons. And then others, they'll come and have a lesson, and then they'll go, and then they come and then they go. And that I find more so. I'm based personally in a regional area, and when I was based in Melbourne, everyone was very regular with their lessons and training. And then when I came out to the country, a very different landscape. And It's lots of different factors, but it's and probably there's less events really out in regional too, so there's probably less urgency for the training and in that competitive arena scenario or clientele. So it was just a different clientele, and so yeah, so it's just understanding the landscape too that you're in is important, and then it helps you, because sometimes I think, yeah, we can sit in that and go, oh, is it something I'm doing? And don't overthink it. Just enjoy what you do. Enjoy it. And because on the arena, I mean, you're coaching because you enjoy coaching. And while it's authentic and you enjoy it, and you can have fun with it. So thank you.